Have you ever watched someone get humiliated in front of a room full of professionals for simply trying to be a parent? Have you ever seen a woman punished for choosing her child over her boss, only to later realize that humiliation wasn't an end, but the spark of a revolution? That's exactly what happened to Cassandra Bell. At 29, Cassandra was the rising star of Northwell and Trent Consulting. Smart, decisive, and meticulous, she was the project coordinator behind the firm's biggest upcoming pitch, the Hunter Tech merger, valued at $48 million. She was the one who stayed late, who caught mistakes before they reached the client, who fixed problems quietly and never asked for recognition. And yet none of that mattered when she stepped into the conference room that morning, with her 6-year-old son, Malik, in her arms. Cassandra didn't want to bring Malik to work. She'd spent the entire night by his side at the emergency room, holding his tiny hand while he gasped through an asthma attack. His babysitter canceled at the last minute, and she had no family nearby. She had no choice. It was either miss the biggest meeting of the year or bring Malik with her and hope he'd be okay for a few hours. She chose the latter. He was quiet, fragile, breathing carefully through a small inhaler she kept in her bag. Cassandra entered the conference room gently, hoping to sit in the corner, present the materials she'd prepared for weeks, and slip out unnoticed. But that hope shattered the moment the room fell silent. "What the hell is that child doing here, Ms. Bell?" The voice cracked across the room like a whip. Standing at the head of the table was Marjorie Lennox, the firm's executive director, impeccably dressed in a white silk blouse and navy blazer, her heels sharp, her expression sharper. "This is an office," Marjorie snapped, "not a daycare." Cassandra stood frozen for a moment. She hugged Malik closer to her chest, feeling the heat of 20 pairs of eyes watching her, judging her. I'm so sorry, Ms. Lennox," Cassandra said, voice steady despite the burn in her chest. "The babysitter canceled this morning, and I couldn't miss the Hunter Tech presentation. I've been coordinating it for 3 months, yes. And yet here we are." Marjorie's voice dripped with contempt. Cassandra saw it in her eyes, not concern, not professionalism, disgust. "Company policy is very clear," Marjorie continued. "No dependents in the workplace. No exceptions. You're dismissed, effective immediately." The silence was thunderous. Cassandra's face flushed. Her fingers trembled not from fear, but from rage. 6 years. 6 years of holidays skipped, of birthdays missed, of working twice as hard for half the recognition. And now she was being fired, not for incompetence, not for misconduct, but for trying to be a mother. She looked around the room. To her left sat Charles, a colleague whose job she had saved 3 months ago when his careless mistake nearly cost the firm $400,000. She'd pulled an all-nighter to fix it. He avoided her eyes. To her right, Jenna from marketing scrolled her phone awkwardly. Across the table, Finance Director Allen adjusted his tie. Nobody said a word. Nobody stood up. Marjorie turned to the others and said, with a smirk, "Let this be a reminder. Professionalism above all else." Security was called. Cassandra gathered her things slowly, with Malik still pressed to her shoulder. That's when she noticed it. Marjorie was recording the moment on her phone. Subtle, but unmistakable. The screen glow reflected in the glass. "She's going to post this," Cassandra thought. "She wants to make an example of me. Publicly." Malik tugged at her sleeve. "Mommy, why is that lady so mean?" Cassandra knelt down to his level and said, loud enough for the room to hear, "Because some people confuse cruelty with leadership, baby. But that doesn't mean they're right." And with that, she walked out, head high, rage cold, and eyes clear. Now I want to pause here and say something personal. That moment, that quiet dignity, that's power. That's when you realize you're not just being punished, you're being underestimated. And that's when everything starts to shift. In the elevator down, Cassandra whispered to Malik, "Mommy's going to show these people what happens when they mistake a black woman's compassion for weakness." Back home, with Malik resting on the couch and breathing easier, Cassandra opened her laptop. She didn't cry. She planned. 2 hours later, she found Marjorie's LinkedIn post. It had already gained hundreds of likes and dozens of smug, congratulatory comments. The video showed Cassandra standing silently with her son in the boardroom, being escorted out. The caption read, "Tough leadership means making tough decisions. We can't allow emotions to compromise corporate standards. Leadership, chatur professionalism, chatur no excuses." Cassandra read every comment, every name, every company, every "well done, Marjorie," and "that's how you run a business." She saved them all. Then she created a new folder on her desktop. She named it Project Marjorie, and that was the beginning. That night, long after Malik had fallen asleep with his tiny inhaler clutched beside him, Cassandra sat in the dark, lit only by the glow of her secondhand laptop. No tears, no breakdowns. Just tabs open across the screen. LinkedIn, court records, HR complaint forms, financial disclosures, corporate code of ethics, and one word in bold letters at the top of a blank document: evidence. Because if there's one thing women like Cassandra learn early, it's that emotions won't save you, but documentation just might. She started with Marjorie Lennox's LinkedIn post. She screenshotted every comment, especially those from other executives, colleagues, and HR consultants praising discipline and standard enforcement. Then she looked up each name, each company. She built a spreadsheet, a digital war map of silence, complicity, and arrogance. Then she moved on to Marjorie herself. It didn't take long. Marjorie had a pristine online presence. Too pristine. Polished quotes about efficiency, photos from expensive galas. But beneath the surface, Cassandra found signs of rot. Using a reverse image search, Cassandra discovered that one of Marjorie's most used photos, her sitting on a panel about empowering women in the workplace, was taken just 1 week after she fired a junior analyst for requesting a half-day off to attend her daughter's surgery. That analyst, Cassandra found her on Facebook. Her name was Liana Torres. And when Cassandra messaged her, she replied within 5 minutes. "I've been waiting for someone to take her down," Liana wrote. And just like that, Cassandra had her first ally. They spoke on the phone that night. Liana recounted her story in detail, how Marjorie had manipulated her performance review, withheld mentorship, then humiliated her in front of a room full of men after she dared to bring up work-life balance. "She doesn't just fire people," Liana said. "She breaks them first. And the worst part is, she targets women who remind her of everything she's not." By morning, Cassandra had 4 more names. All women, 3 women of color, one dismissed after filing a harassment report, another after returning from maternity leave. It was a pattern. Marjorie wasn't just cruel, she was calculated. But Cassandra wasn't going to expose her with just stories. She needed something undeniable, something legal couldn't ignore. That's when she made the call. "Marcus, it's me, Cassandra Bell." A groggy voice on the other end perked up immediately. "Cass, you okay? It's been years. I need a favor, the kind only you can do." Marcus Chan, a former law school classmate turned corporate investigator. They had once studied late into the night together, dreaming about justice. Now he hunted down corruption in high-rises and boardrooms. "I have a target. Her name's Marjorie Lennox, executive director of Northwell and Trent. She publicly fired me for bringing my son to work during a medical emergency, and then posted the video on LinkedIn." There was a pause, then Marcus said, "Send me everything." Within hours, he was on the case, and what he uncovered over the next 3 days would change everything. "Cass," he said on their next call, "she's worse than you think. She's got a hidden file system, screenshots of private employee messages, audio clips of team meetings, some clearly recorded without consent. But that's not the bombshell." Marcus took a breath. "She's running a private Slack channel with 5 other executives in the city. They share problem employee profiles, mostly single moms, women of color, anyone who disrupts culture. They call it the Glass Ceiling Club." I'm not joking. Cassandra's stomach turned. This wasn't just a toxic boss. It was a network, and they were deliberately sabotaging careers. Marcus wasn't done. "Also, your name's in there, with the label emotional liability. Can't separate motherhood from professional identity." Cassandra stared at the screen. And then she smiled. A cold, strategic smile. That line, meant as an insult, was actually her proof, her key. Because in court, in HR, in front of any judge or investigative committee, that label could be framed as what it truly was: discrimination. Over the next 2 weeks, Cassandra built a case. Every document, every screenshot, every quote. She compiled statements from 5 former employees, now willing to speak on the record, anonymously for now, but ready to testify if needed. And just when the plan was coming together, something happened that neither she nor Marjorie saw coming. Cassandra got a job offer. Not just any job. A senior position at Carrington and Bell, a top-tier firm known for its inclusive policies and flexible family accommodations. During her final interview, Cassandra met with the firm's CEO, a tall, poised black woman named Naomi Westfield. At the end of the meeting, Naomi leaned forward and said, "Do you know why I really wanted to meet you in person?" Cassandra hesitated. "No." Naomi pulled out her phone, flipped it around. It was the viral LinkedIn post. Marjorie's post. "I was that kid," Naomi said, pointing at the boy in Cassandra's arms. "My mom brought me to a warehouse where she sorted boxes because the sitter canceled. She was fired on the spot. It took her years to rebuild. And when I saw this photo, I saw her again." Cassandra's breath caught. Naomi continued, "We don't just want to hire you. We want you to lead our new diversity and ethics division with full executive authority." Cassandra blinked. "But I haven't even—" "You already did," Naomi interrupted. "You built a case. You stood up with grace in the face of cruelty. That's leadership. We need more of that." And just like that, everything Marjorie tried to destroy became the foundation for something bigger. But Cassandra wasn't done yet, because she still had the file. And what she did next would shake the entire corporate structure of the city. 3 days after Cassandra Bell officially accepted the offer from Carrington and Bell, something unexpected happened. Her phone lit up with a name she hadn't seen since the day she was fired. Marjorie Lennox. The audacity. Cassandra stared at the screen. Malik, playing quietly with Legos nearby, looked up and asked, "Who's that, Mommy?" She didn't answer. She simply let the call go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, a message appeared. "Cassandra, I think we should talk. There's been a misunderstanding. I'd really like to clear the air. Perhaps over coffee. We were once colleagues after all." Cassandra didn't reply. She forwarded the voicemail straight to her private archive folder. Because at that moment, she wasn't just a former employee. She was a storm. And Marjorie was about to feel its full force. That evening, Cassandra and Marcus finalized their file. Over 100 pages of documented evidence. Secret Slack chats, personal messages between executives mocking employee pregnancies, records of blacklisted names across the industry, and worst of all, voice recordings of dismissals where Marjorie laughed while terminating single mothers. The file was sent to 4 places at once: the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the HR Ethics Council, a nationally syndicated investigative journalist, and Naomi Westfield's media relations team. Within 48 hours, everything exploded. A viral article titled, "The Professional Predator: How a Corporate Executive Silenced Mothers for a Decade," swept across the nation. At the top of the story, a single image: Cassandra holding Malik in the boardroom surrounded by cold faces and Marjorie's triumphant smirk. Except this time, the caption didn't read "number professionalism." It read, "This is what corporate cruelty looks like." The story revealed everything: Marjorie's pattern of discrimination, her secret Slack channel, the unofficial blacklist shared by powerful executives. For years, she had used her position to silence, fire, and humiliate anyone who dared to be human. And it wasn't just Cassandra anymore. Former employees flooded social media with their stories. A Latina analyst fired for caring for her father with dementia. A woman with lupus denied medical leave. A black intern dismissed after needing time off to attend her sister's funeral. Marjorie had left a trail of destruction, and now it was her turn to be exposed. That week, 5 corporate investigations launched. 2 executives in the Slack group resigned. And Marjorie? She was suspended indefinitely. But that's not where this ends. Because Cassandra didn't just want retribution, she wanted change. She took her new role at Carrington and Bell and used it to launch a program, the Mothers Who Lead Initiative, a mentorship and protection platform for single mothers in the corporate world. It offered emergency childcare stipends, workplace legal guidance, flexible hours, and a direct line for whistleblower protections. Within 3 months, it was adopted by 7 major firms. But perhaps the most stunning moment came during a televised interview with Naomi Westfield and Cassandra side by side. When the host asked, "How did it feel, Cassandra, to be fired for being a mother and now to be rewriting the policies of an entire industry?" Cassandra didn't answer right away. She looked into the camera, then said, "I'm not angry anymore. I'm focused. I'm not here to destroy anyone. I'm here to protect the next woman who thinks she's alone in that boardroom. And to the employers who confuse cruelty with leadership, we're not going to sit quietly anymore. You're on notice." The interview went viral in under an hour. That same night, Cassandra received a message on Instagram from a woman in Detroit. "I brought my son to work today because I had no choice. My manager glared at me and then offered to set up a play area for the day. When I asked why, she said, 'Didn't you hear? The world's changing. Cassandra Bell made sure of it. Thank you.'" That message broke her. Cassandra cried for the first time since the day she was fired, not out of sadness, but because she realized she had become someone's hope. But not everyone found inspiration. Some found consequences. 2 weeks later, Marjorie Lennox walked into the HR office at Northwell and Trent and was handed a termination letter. Quiet, clean, with legal wording that said, "Violation of ethical policy, reputational damage, breach of confidentiality, effective immediately." She walked out the same way she once made others walk out, with security guards flanking her sides. Nobody clapped. Nobody cried. Nobody stopped her. Later that day, a photographer captured a moment at a coffee shop. Marjorie sitting alone, scrolling through her phone, her LinkedIn account deactivated, her inbox empty, her empire gone. And Cassandra, she was in her new office, Malik drawing in the corner, finalizing a $2.5 million corporate contract for inclusive training programs. When her assistant asked if she wanted to do a press release about her success, Cassandra smiled and said, "No need." And then she looked out the window and said softly, "Let my work speak louder than their cruelty ever did." 6 months passed. Then one morning, Cassandra was invited to speak at the National Women in Leadership Summit in New York. Her keynote speech opened with a single image, the same viral photo of her and Malik in the boardroom. She stood on stage in front of 5,000 women, executives, interns, mothers, daughters, and said, "That photo was never supposed to be my shame, but they tried to make it that. Now it's my symbol." Because what they didn't understand is that you can fire a person, but you can't fire her purpose. The room erupted. Some women cried. Others stood in thunderous applause. And Cassandra finished with this: "If they call your empathy weakness, prove them wrong with your resilience. If they mock your motherhood, build an empire with it. And if they try to erase you, leave a legacy so big they have no choice but to remember your name. My name is Cassandra Bell. I was fired for being a mother, and now I'm helping write the rules they'll be forced to follow." And just like that, the world changed.